Welcome to the Awareness Space podcast, a place where we explore what it means to live with a neurodivergent brain. I was diagnosed at 41 with ADHD. After 20 years of struggling with anxiety, depression, impulsivity, and a life-hindering, overactive mind, I found the answer. This podcast has a mission to interview as many people with a neurodivergent brain as we can in hope to raise awareness. Awareness that it's never too late to discover your truth. Join us every week as we talk with therapists, coaches, and people who can share their story. Getting the diagnosis is just the beginning. May we all thrive in our own way of life. Now let's dive in. Welcome back, everybody, to the Awareness Space podcast, a place where we honor and raise awareness of neurodivergent life. We are here for those who don't yet know they have ADHD and those trying to make sense of it all post-diagnosis. This is episode 3 of our series, Me, Myself, and ADHD. I will dive into conversations with a guest on all things ADHD and other neurodivergent brain presentations, should they be part of their experience. We will cover the run-up to diagnosis, the diagnostic experience itself, and how life has unfolded afterwards, including looking at the guests' passions and how they thrive. That's my favorite bit. So on today's show, we welcome Emma Burns. Welcome to the Awareness Space, Emma. Thank you for being here with us. We are here to learn more about your neurodivergent life, and your experiences can really help me, which is amazing bonus, and our amazing audience to live more freely with ADHD, or in your case, AuDHD, which I'm really looking forward to hearing about. So how are you feeling today? How are you feeling about this podcast experience? What is your experience of this?
So I'm feeling really good, actually. I'm laughing only because, as usual, my brain was going a million miles then, just as you were doing that. I was like, oh my God, what am I going to say? Am I going to say this? Oh my God, I forgot what I've got to say. You know, I had a lot of conversation happening in such a short space of time.
Yeah, pre-scripting sounds very familiar to me. As a host, always pre-scripting. You said that, so I'm definitely going to say that now.
But with my own brain butting in to it all, so it's not free-flowing.
No, it kind of does flow though. It's kind of everywhere in the best way possible.
Yeah, it will do. It will do. It's just interesting. It's so good to acknowledge it and then just stand back and laugh a bit, because otherwise it just sucks you in all the time. The amount of time
Definitely.
I spend in my head is unreal.
I guess, jumping straight in, if you're witnessing what your mind is doing, that's half the battle, I find.
Yes.
And I was doing that before diagnosis. I could see my mind was doing that, but I had no context. And I was like, what the hell is wrong with me? The diagnosis is obviously what helps you go, oh, okay.
Yeah, now I get
which
it.
is kind of why we're here. But obviously, we've known each other a little while. We met when I was, my ADHD led me to hyper focus on trying to save the world from having to pay for complementary health, therefore being priced out, though the practitioners obviously need to be paid. It's so important. It's so important we honor their value. Especially in the UK, we have NHS that's free. But then at the same time, if people don't really believe maybe in mainstream medicine, it's hard to access the other things. So I was trying to create a company where sponsors would give us money, and we use that money to pay people like yourself in the therapy sector to help people. And I got people all over the world. It grew very big, very fast. And I was traveling to Scotland in a day, to Wales, doing chat shows and hosting events. Burnt myself out, nearly went bankrupt because we weren't getting the support we needed. But I met so many amazing people like you. Me and Carla Jo always go, oh, I remember Emma. She was amazing, wasn't she? She's like one of the top Welsh heroes. So we had a lovely time, me and my partner, and I've learned so much. And that's how I got this knowledge here to sit with you. So I just want to thank you you were amazing. You really believed in what I was doing. And then did you have any ideas about my personality in regards to neurodivergent?
Yeah. Well, probably not so much at the time, because although obviously, ADHD and autism isn't a new thing, it wasn't so much on my periphery at the time. But when I look back, when you're diagnosed, or you're thinking that you are, and then you get confirmation, it then all of a sudden, like, this is my experience. My brain backtracked to a lot of people I met, and it was like, oh my God, I'm sure they are too. Oh, and them. Oh, and them. Oh, and them. That's why this was happening. That's why it was like that. And then I've got to say, again, thank you to both you and CJ for what you created, because that, although it wasn't the World Health Heroes alone, it it had an influence on me finding out more about myself, because what you set up, and when I was able to meet other people there, all of what they were doing all had an influence in my own discovery anyway. So it was fascinating. It was a really, really, really good thing to be involved in, because there was just so much passion and there was so much diversity, which was brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. It's kind of that's what a lot of people said. The little pods I'd created like little local communities, little hero hubs. And then obviously when it ended, I walked away and I haven't chatted to a lot of heroes over the years. That's what I left behind was new communities. And I mean, that's pretty cool. At least
It is.
if I passed away tomorrow, I'm like, oh, that's cool. I had an impact. And I think if we can have an impact on the world before we go, that's pretty cool. So I think I've already done that enough. I've done enough impact, but I'm going to keep going.
Mm.
And that feels great. But anyway, this isn't about me today, though it's nice. It feels good. What I'd like to do, we know we have a few little questions, but it's meant to be pretty free flowing. But before I ask you the question, because otherwise it won't make sense. So we've got autism, we've got ADHD. Can you just briefly, before we jump into the experience just before, which came first? What was the gap in between? Was it the same time? Can I just find out about that?
No. So originally, it was ADHD first, although I was born with both of them at the same time, obviously. My awareness and understanding was focusing more on the ADHD, because it just so happened that there was a part of my life that was happening that related so much to the ADHD symptoms, that it allowed me to understand that it was in that context. And then it was actually through all that discovery that I then started to realize that it was more than that. And I started to think, okay, I think this is autism as well. But because I think I worked with children in care, so I worked with a lot of children with ADHD and autism, but it wasn't specifically for ADHD and autism. And most weren't diagnosed. And because growing up, my understanding of autism, and a lot of people's understanding for our generation and above of autism, was one end of the spectrum. And because I wasn't that end of the spectrum, where I wasn't unable to communicate, I wasn't unable to go to mainstream school, I wasn't unable to get jobs, I think this is where it's classed as lost generation, lost girls, lost men. This is where we get lost, is because we do meet thresholds, but they're classed as tendencies, as opposed to the reality of it. And it was mainly through the discovery of the ADHD that I just knew there was something else. And then I was noticing signs and symptoms within my children that were both very similar to mine, but also very different. I noticed it in my husband as well. And then it was just through all of that discovery that eventually then, when I had a private ADHD diagnosis first, where I was diagnosed with combined inattentive and hyperactive. And then when I actually had my NHS diagnosis, I'd already come to the conclusion that I was autistic, and they confirmed that. They said I showed a lot more signs of autism.
Yeah, because in the assessment they are looking as well, aren't they, for
Yeah.
comorbidities, anything else that comes up, and that's always in the report. So,
Yeah.
but I think in personally, in what we can feel within ourselves will never be something you should never ignore. You
Yeah.
obviously knew that was there. So what led you, just quickly, what led you from the private to then want to go for NHS as well? That's interesting.
I don't know what it's like for you in England. I mean, both me and my husband are actually from England, but we met in Wales and stayed in Wales, and I love living in Wales. But it is different. It's different. It's different in different counties. It's not even, different postcodes. It's not just the different countries. But I had my private diagnosis of ADHD, and to get because I had insomnia really bad for quite a while. So that was another contributing factor to me finding out, because there was unmet needs. And as a result of these unmet needs, my mental health and my physical health were deteriorating. And to get the support I wanted at the time from my GP, I couldn't access. And even though I was saying to them, I feel strongly, I have ADHD, at that point, we didn't diagnose adults with ADHD in Wales. So I went and got a private diagnosis, and then it just so happened I kept myself on the waiting list anyway. And it just so happened that within a year after my private diagnosis, they'd already opened up the doors here in Wales to diagnose adults, and I was further on the list because I stayed on the list. And that's why I had both, because even with my private diagnosis, they were not willing to share, my GPs were not willing to do shared care with any format of help or support I might have wanted to access. And because I was suffering so badly with insomnia, the type of medication that they wanted to put me on, I don't think would have been safe for me. But it was all I would have been able to have accessed because I didn't have the NHS diagnosis.
Yeah, I think it's a really important message for anybody that's wondering about their journey going forward if they feel like they might have ADHD and what they think they're going to do is, I'm not sure about Wales, but in England, obviously, the waiting lists, not going into too much of the politics, is absolutely insane. Years. But the thing about going for the NHS is then you get the free support of, looking at medication and accessing counselling and CBT and things like that. They can offer you other things. The problem is if you go private, like I've done, if I now want to go forward, look at medication, I would have to sit down with the psychiatrist again, have a look at what I need to take. That's going to cost me a shitload. And then I'm going to have to buy all the tablets, which are not cheap. So now I'm stuck in this pattern of, okay, I've got it. And now I've got to rough it out and learn and coach myself and have coaching support. That's going to cost as well, just to discover how I'm going to help myself. So it's really important to mention that to people that the reason I went private is I needed to know, and I needed to know fast. I needed truth.
Me
Truth would be
too.
healing.
Yeah,
50% of healing
me
is the
too.
truth. I'm glad I did it. I'm glad I paid. It cost me £600 with this amazing psychiatrist. He was an incredible guy. And now I have my truth. The symptoms, the presentations, whatever you want to call them, they exist. That's cool. I can deal with that. But I needed to know, so I couldn't wait. But now I could go on the waiting list, a bit like yourself, stay on the list, and you never know. And I could have access to medication. Is that similar for Wales, how that works?
I mean, well, even then, so even when it's different because, and it's different and it's going to keep changing, which is a good thing because the whole time after I had my private diagnosis and then I was trying to access the support I needed at the doctors, and they were still refusing because they weren't accepting my diagnosis. That year, it was only another year before I was then diagnosed. It was literally almost to the day a year later, I was diagnosed through the NHS. But during that year, I had letters saying, one, I'd been taken off the list, which I hadn't been. So that was one scenario. That was quite stressful. Two, it could have taken up to 8 years. Then 3 years, then back to 7. It was like the year itself was very, very backwards and forwards with unclear messaging and unclear. There was not the same consistency. I'm not knocking them. It was what they had, but then within a year, I was diagnosed with it. And the woman who was diagnosing me on the end, she was brilliant. She was great, but I had a pre-assessment and then the assessment, and both the pre-assessor and the assessor both said, we do believe you have ADHD, but they didn't say it like this, but effectively they said the same thing on 2 separate occasions. You are, we're very confident you're autistic. So I want to let people know as well, like the thing is if you have ADHD and autism, you have had it all your life, you are going to have it for the rest of your life. So although it's very difficult to accept, it certainly is for me, my time scale awareness is so like, I am quite time blind. To me, a month can seem like an eternity sometimes. And I've had to really learn a lot of new things about myself to cope with my time blindness, which this journey has led me to. I've had to take a lot of responsibility for my own well-being because I cannot rely on the private organisations or the NHS. I just cannot rely on their confirmations or their care. I've had to take that into my own hands. But I want people to know that That doesn't have to be a scary thing. It is unbelievable what you can learn along the way. But like any transition, that middle bit can feel endless. It can feel pointless. It can feel like you're not getting anywhere. And, slowly, slowly wins the race. We have got to. It has taught me so much about myself, the process being the way the process has been. It needs to change. It needs to be better. I'm not arguing that. But I don't want it to take away the reality of, personally, for me, the diagnosis was one thing. I still had to learn how to live with it. And I had to learn how to live with it my way. And the diagnosis was not going to do that for me. It didn't.
No, thank you so much. It's interesting, isn't it? As I was saying that, my brain was firing up as we talked about at the beginning. Is It's not even the presentations that is hard to accept once you get diagnosis. It's the impact it has. So it's not my low mood. Like, I woke up today and I just felt so down. Like, I presume it was my dreams. I didn't sleep that great. So it's like, okay, right. So there's this big wave of dorsal sadness come across me. But I can deal with that. I can sit with that. I can witness that. I can be compassionate. What the problem is that I know that can happen at any time. Therefore, it's very hard to make decisions like, what career do I want? What career will best suit all of those presentations when they arise? That makes my world a lot smaller, and I have less opportunity and less options. That's really hard to deal with. How can I flourish in the way I want to when I'm knowing that maybe that's not the right environment, which is fine, but also not fine, because that's what I'm having to deal with, the sort of the messed up sort of headspace of, oh, is this the only job I can do because it could happen? That's really hard, because you know you're an amazing being, and you're like, look what I did with the heroes. I know what I can achieve, but it's fascinating, isn't it? I don't care about the low mood. I can practice ways and practice techniques. It's like, but what that means I can't do certain things, and that feels really sad, you know?
I think I don't underestimate the power you have in any given moment, particularly like this morning. You still you're still here doing this podcast
Yeah.
regardless. And even if you had to change the day, you're still Owen, and your purpose and who you are can never be replaced. So you're fulfilling everything you need to in any given moment, and we will get thrown some, I won't swear,
Hmm.
curveballs,
Yeah.
right? And when we're being swung those curveballs, and it feels like, oh, it's always that bit near the end. Like, when there's change about to happen, we're going to go through a particular period of time. I cannot give a length of time because fundamentally it's not linear. Where it feels hopeless. And it's in that space where the magic can really happen, because you are being called more and more and more and more and more to see the reality, as opposed to the idea of what the reality is. And that is unbelievable. But it don't feel like that when you're in it. It don't. It feels horrible. It feels pointless. It feels futile. It feels like there's never going to be. But this is also a process of learning that you're who you are. This is I found, more so with my ADHD diagnosis, because that was the one I had first. I went into quite a serious grieving process, and that is natural. And what was interesting was there was a lot of information and a lot of support around getting the diagnosis. And I remember going online and doing all kinds of workshops and stuff. And there were doctors on there who'd recently been diagnosed. And every single one of them said, from the moment I was diagnosed, that was it. My life changed and turned around, and everything went really well. And I just remember sitting there thinking, well, what the heck am I doing wrong then? Because I've had this diagnosis, I know it, I'm clarified, but all of a sudden it doesn't feel great. It felt awful. And but it was a grieving process I was going through. I had to, it felt warpy. It felt like I felt like I had less idea of who I was, although I knew who I was more, because I had to let go of so much of what didn't serve me and starting to accept all the things I was running away from, which we call shadow side. I was petrified to be really who I was, really scared. And I didn't realize that until I was in that space, that I was completely, not deliberately, but trying to protect myself, my inner child, I would call it, from actually being Emma as whoever I am and whoever I am going to change into, because I wanted to be this mother, this business owner, this career woman, this wife, in a way that I perceived would be what I wanted, and it wasn't who I was.
Yeah, it's fascinating, isn't it? I don't know. Yeah, think that I don't know your experience. In a second, we're going to see what led up to that moment where you're like, oh, okay, I see what might be happening here. But when you have the presentations before you knew it was ADHD, I found that people were more, oh wow, okay, oh yeah, I experienced that, or I feel that, or yeah, how does that feel? People, any walk of life are more open to it. But as soon as now I've said, oh no, I've been diagnosed with that, I either get met with, oh yeah, my brother, my sister has that. Oh, that's really interesting. And then some people going, oh, that oh, you've got that. So
Mm.
now I've actually got
Yeah,
the
yeah.
truth. People are then rejecting me slightly for that truth. Oh, yeah, okay, whatever, 41, you should have known, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting. Before I was met by everyone, but now I'm not. Now I'm in this amazing community, this neurodivergent community who see me deeply more than anyone would have beforehand. But now I've got this other population of people going, oh, everyone's a little ADHD, oh, blah, blah, blah. So it's interesting how
Yeah, yeah,
what's
yeah.
better? Was I better before, where everybody was like, "Oh, is it going to be okay?" So now I'm like, no, because my community now, oh my God, it's so deeply felt and seen on TikTok and Instagram, even strangers. Oh my God, this is amazing. So it's really important to honor anybody that's thinking about that journey. Like you said, there's so much grief, so much understanding of yourself, but also move towards that beautiful community because people inevitably, as soon as you have a label, as they call it, is they're going
Mm,
to then have an opinion
mm,
about that, which they didn't have before.
mm.
Yeah.
It's a condition. That's the thing people need to understand. It's a condition, not a label. Ultimately, everything's got a label. When I had epilepsy, because that was another part of my neurodivergence that I had, I didn't realize was neurodivergence. I grew up with epilepsy and I hid it from people because I thought I was weird. I love being weird, but at the time it was the negative weird. So people, I didn't even know what they were. I experienced petit mal fits and then grand mal fits. And I didn't tell anyone because I thought the experience was, it's a very strange experience. And nobody has once said to me, do you need to put a label on that? If I said I had epilepsy, they accepted it. If I said I had diabetes, they would accept it. If I said I had cancer, even, they would accept that it's got a name to describe the condition. That is what all neurodivergency is. It's a name to describe the condition. It's not to label people with things at all. And it's interesting because you said when you were saying about the communities, it is that transition that we go through, that part of it is really important to recognize and address, because like anything, like when we make a decision to change something, our ego loves to get involved to try and protect us. And then I remember when I got diagnosed as well, the RSD side of things, so the rejection sensitivity, went absolutely berserk. And I noticed just how much I'd spent my life trying to gain people's love and affection that I didn't actually need from them, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I don't need love and attention from people. I'm a human being. We're animals at the end of the day. I do. But I was trying to get it from people that it made no odds whether I got it from them or not. Like it didn't serve my purpose. And I'm not, when, like particularly owning a business, I couldn't understand why I couldn't be somebody on like The Apprentice. I don't want to be. No offense to anybody who is. That's great if they want to do that. That isn't me. Like it's just not who we are. And it's an ongoing step-by-step process. And the only way we can understand how it's affecting us and what we need to change is we will all of a sudden get hit with it more. So we will get more people rejecting stuff. We will get people giving us their true opinion. And it ain't our job to change their opinion, just like it isn't their job to change ours. I can accept that people are going to have different opinions to me. I've had more than enough people tell me ADHD doesn't exist. That's fine. That's your belief. That's what you think. That's the way you want to look at it. I live with it and I experience it. I accept it. That's my life. It's not anybody else's problem to try. I don't want to change their opinion, and I don't need them to try and change mine because they can't.
Yeah, thank you. It's so powerful. I love you. You're amazing on the podcast. You should do more of this. It's powerful. You should be an inspirational speaker.
I'd love to. I like it.
No, it's amazing. Thank you. I love the way this episode's going. We're just all over the place, but in the most beautiful possible way. I love it. Well, you talked a lot about, the moment, the diagnosis and thereafter. What you mentioned a few little things that you had insomnia. You mentioned that at the beginning, but what was happening in your life when you thought, hold on a second. So what was happening? What presentations were you having? What made you think, oh, I might book an assessment in? I think it's really powerful for people to hear that because that might be where they're at now. So what was happening? What was that moment? What were the presentations?
So the presentations, to be fair with you, Owen, have been going on for a long time. And particularly when I started I had quite a severe breakdown, as I wrote about. I've written about a number of times. I had quite a severe breakdown in 2018 where I could feel I was burning out fast. I was depleted of everything. And then my body just stopped working. And I'm still in recovery now. But it took that for me to come away from my life and have to really, and it was dark. It wasn't easy. And then during that time, so when I look now I know I can reflect on other things that happened before that, but that was the bit that was like, enough is enough. My body had made it clear, I'm not being taken care of. You're not looking after me. You're not nurturing me. You're not being who you are. I'm not letting you carry on like this anymore. And it's been a gradual, and it still is. I'm still in that process of learning because I'm only 42. I've got, years ahead. And it was during all of that then I started to see things in my children. I started to get more and more and more difficulties arising for me to have to face that was all guiding me in the right direction. It just didn't look it at the time. And then when COVID hit, because of the job that I do, it's in person. I can't do it over the phone. I had to stop my business. My business completely froze whilst COVID was happening. And it made me slow down in every area of my life. And then it became really clear to me. I still didn't know, but on reflection, it started to become clearer and clearer and clearer. I saw more of what was happening for my children. I saw more of the way that they were learning and where they were struggling. I saw more of how it was affecting my husband. I saw more that I sat there and realized, how have I been living like this? How have I been following this path that just was never for me? I've learned a lot from it. It's all been valid. It's all been exactly where I've needed to be in each moment, but I'm not going back there. This is not where I need to go. And then when lockdown eventually ended and things lifted and I was able to go back to work, I had achieved a point in my career as a as a reflexologist that I had only ever dreamt of. And it was to be in the outdoors, it was to be from the tent, and all of a sudden I had it. And then everything felt like my whole world was crumbling. I could not sleep. I felt I still had so much of my old mentality going on about I'm a failure, I can't achieve anything, I'm not as good as everybody else, I failed all my GCSEs, I have to learn everything 10 times more than somebody else. I had all of this going on, and I was just like, I'm going to fail this business. This is all going to go completely under me. And I couldn't sleep. There was other factors going on as well, lots of other factors that were quite difficult. But on a personal level, I I was achieving so much, and then it felt like it was all out of it was totally out of my depth. Like I just couldn't believe that I was capable of maintaining it. But I was also I'd reached a point where I wanted to be, and then my head was trying to reach somewhere else that I didn't want to be, because I assumed that's where I had to go. And everything that happened, I believe now, was to bring me right back to the center and then start again and realize where I needed to be. And during all of that, I didn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 3 years. It was awful, awful experience. And I saw a lot of my ADHD and autistic traits show up because I had such unmet needs by myself, from me. I was not meeting my own needs at all. I was really neglecting myself. I was taking care of myself in some formats, but it wasn't in the way I needed. It was what I presumed I needed.
It's interesting, isn't it? I get the sense of being stuck in a
Mm.
life pattern. So you're kind of living your life moment by
Mm.
moment. And they say a lot of time with HD is there's right now and then there's not right now. There's
Mm.
no past, future. I
Mm.
thought that was really powerful. There's now and not now. So you're trying to make sense of the future without being able to, like you said, the timelining and being able to see everything in that way. But it's like we get so stuck in the pattern of the life that we're leading that the symptoms are just the presentations, they're all there, sort of flapping around everywhere, but we're just on the go doing what we need to do. So it's interesting how they said with COVID, even for non-neurodivergent brains, you start to see stuff about yourself where you were forced to reflect and have those moments. It's interesting how many people came out of that and have thrived since. Really, really powerful. And it was such a horrible time for so many. It's just interesting that side. But I feel like just bouncing it back to you from my own experience, it's only been 6 weeks, is that I can still see all of the presentations like I did before, but my life doesn't feel as rigidly patterned because I'm like, oh no, I know I need to do this now. I think it's really important I do this. So I knew that with my low mood today, it was horrible, honestly. It was a couple of hours ago. I said, no, I know Emma really well. We're gonna have a lovely time. And it's all lifting now. It's all going.
Oh, I'm
And
pleased.
it's really important to know what you need, but I don't think you really know what you need before you get a sense of the diagnosis, because I am able to then read books and listen to coaches and listen to podcasts and go, okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm going to try that. Oh, wow. That really helps. Then suddenly you start building all of these resources so fast. You've got the grieving, but you also build on resources, which is really, really good. And then having the mindset around, oh, why do I need resources? It's so easy to start going, I was pathetic, or I shouldn't need resources. I'm 41, blah, blah. So yeah, that as
Mm.
well.
Oh
That's that.
God, now's a better time than ever to need resources.
Yeah, definitely. But I just wanted to acknowledge that sort of getting stuck in the pattern, you can't see it. It's really, really powerful. So um if, let's get, if you can remember, just go to that moment that they said, or I don't know if it was on the call or it was
Mm.
the notes that they take and they give you a report.
Yeah,
So I had an email come through and I was like, no, don't open it. And CJ's like,
yeah,
open it, open it. I was like, no, but what if I don't have it? And I sat there and just pictured for a minute, like, oh, but what if I don't have it? I was so devastated in advance for something that I hadn't read yet.
yeah,
I was like, oh,
yeah.
and then I
That's what
read
puts
it.
people off doing it.
Yeah. And then I read it and then I sort of you sort of slump. And I was really upset, but also like, oh my God. And you get this euphoria just coming into your body, like it's dopamine and adrenaline. You're like, oh, but then the rest of the day I was just up and down. Oh, amazing. Oh God. So what can you
Yeah,
remember what that moment was
I
like?
do. It was weird because mine was video call, so it was very much like this, and it was done very professionally, but it was like he said it, and I just was like, sorry, did you just say that I do have it? And he was like, yeah, you do. I was like, it was like I built, so that was again, to reflect on, it was an interesting pattern to see what I've been doing to myself. I had, even though I had booked this assessment, knowing in my heart that I knew myself in some format and I knew that I had ADHD, I still was expecting him to say I didn't. And I still went into this mindset of how to try to protect myself when they say I don't. And I think it's a common reason why so many people don't go and get a diagnosis, is because of the rejection aspect of it. I'm sure there are many people who don't want the diagnosis. They don't want to be told they have ADHD, and that's another reason why they won't go and have it. But when you're somebody who, I've noticed a lot as well with regards to one, being a human and certainly having ADHD and autism. It's another thing that taught me a lot about attachments as well. I'm capable of attaching to anything, and I can over attach to anything as well. And then I've learned how much, with the attachments I make, how much attachment I make that is not actually healthy for me. And to learn that actually a detachment is not unhealthy for me either. I can attach to too much and then be so frightened of losing something without realizing that sometimes it's that detachment that's going to bring me more in its own way. And I remember at the time just being like, huh? Like, just confused. I wasn't confused because of the outcome. I was confused that they agreed, because it just felt like everything up to that point was a battle to get anyone to fucking take me seriously, to listen. So I wasn't expecting it to be that straightforward, to be honest with you. I don't think, that should be the case for everybody, but I didn't feel like the battle I had to even get that far. I took that on board, but I was getting nowhere with the doctors. I was getting nowhere with certain, not all, and some of these counsellors and therapists were amazing counsellors and therapists, but where it concerned neurodiversities, they didn't believe in them. And there was clarification, but it was also, it's weird because I knew. And I think one thing that's quite common for me as well is I do expect a certain outcome out of something, and I expect to feel a certain way, and I expect it to change something in me. And it was something else that, for me personally, it taught me that it was never going to be that alone that was going to do it. It was kind of an anticlimax in some respects, but also on the opposite spectrum, the exact, unbelievable. Like, it was such clarification. But I suppose deep down I knew I had work to do. It wasn't just this alone was never going to do it. This alone was never going to confirm what I'm here for, what I'm here to do next. That's all my work. And I think I was quite frightened about that because, again, I didn't believe I had the capacity to do it. And that's the biggest thing I wanted my assessments and my diagnoses for, is because in part it has allowed me to accept myself more and learn to trust my own intuition, that's been the biggest game changer.
Yeah, thank you. It's so powerful, and it's interesting. You get a diagnosis, and then even weeks later, you could be like, so what does that mean then? So, but I talked about resources earlier. It's like, it's up to me now. If I want to live, I'm not saying better is completely the wrong word, because I've built, I think, quite a beautiful life for myself in the face of all of this. But if there's more that I want to experience, it's probably a good way to say it, then that will require resources, and that's fun. That's fun. Get to try different things out. It's just, you have to have a really good mindset around that. I think that's why so many people find, I think, having an ADHD coach afterwards is really powerful.
Yeah,
If anyone learned, recently diagnosed or going
yeah.
into it, it's just something to think about. You may find someone really lovely. Yeah,
That's
if
what I
they
had.
help you.
I had a specific neurodivergent coach. So although I've been having coaching and therapy for 10 years now, it was in the last 2 years I was working with a woman who has got a number of neurodiversities, and it was actually the coaching with her that really helped me because I was talking to somebody at this point. I didn't have the diagnosis, but I was talking to somebody who understood where I was at and then could not challenge it as such in a really like uber hustling way. It was like she helped me to see that was normal. That was what happens. You're going to question yourself. The RSD is going to show up more. You are going to go. I had awareness, and also because I was finding out at this point, I wasn't just finding out about me. I was finding out about my eldest child. So we were diagnosed pretty much not at the same time, literally, but within the same year. And I was going through that process with school and everything for him. And I was part of, I still am, but I had a lot of support from a charity in South Wales called AP Cymru. It was actually through them I met my coach. And I went to all kinds of workshops. So along the way, I accessed things that were tangible financially and supportive. It predominantly came from supporting my son, and then I could see it more in my other two, and then ultimately, then that led on to me getting the diagnosis and getting the support I needed for me. So, things are out there. Things are out there that it doesn't have to be. I understand because I was skinned, like I was on my knees. But I've learned so much, and I've learned as well what I can have access to. I didn't know about access to work. I didn't know about DLA. I didn't know about other formats of support that I could have to help me run my business. I was able to access a lot of stuff that I didn't need to have a diagnosis for. I just needed to understand what my needs were and how they needed to be met.
Yeah, thank you. It's so interesting, isn't it? Like you said, seeing it in your children, and I'm sure enough people listening to the show might be aware that, how it will follow through the family tree and normally on one side. So you might start to see it unfolding, and that, our children could be the gateway for to finding out our truth. Like you said, that's fascinating. So it could be the way around. You could have it, get a diagnosis and go, oh, hang on a second.
I
And
can
then you
see
can
it.
see what's happening with your child. And I think what a game changer that is, because not only are you transforming your life, you're about to give that child a chance so much earlier than us. 41, I was diagnosed. And if I had a child and I could see it in them now at say 8, oh my God, I could change their
Mm.
lives by them having that truth.
Yeah,
And I think we owe it
yeah,
to those children to, especially if we get diagnosed, we owe it to our children just to have a quick look at it. Maybe not tell them about it straight away, because that might be a bit overwhelming for them, but just in the background, just do a little bit of research in presentations in children. I think that's so
yeah.
important.
It makes such a difference. And again, like I went, part of the insomnia and everything I was going through wasn't because I was just finding out about me. It started from what I needed to find out for my son and the challenges I was faced with school and again, unmet needs at the time. And it's done a complete 360 and it has been a fight. But my eldest child in particular's needs are significantly better met from that. And it shouldn't have to be that difficult for everybody. It really, really, I don't want to go into how difficult it was, but ultimately we got there, and the support he has now and the way he's cared for is unbelievable. I cannot thank the teachers he has specifically enough. It's a game changer, but when I was watching him go through these difficulties in high school, that when I look back on my life and I really saw where things changed, and I could have probably been diagnosed then if we were more aware of stuff then, it would have definitely been for me at high school when my body was changing and I was developing into a woman. And then I was in this environment that just was not suitable for me. It didn't meet my educational needs. I wouldn't say at all, but just the setup is bizarre in my eyes. But it just didn't. It didn't. And I spent my whole life believing I was worthless because I didn't fit into that box. And that ain't uncommon for people. So when I speak to people now and I say, they go, oh my God, I felt like that too. And it feels like everyone felt like that more than they didn't. But nobody ever spoke about it, you know, like that's why I'm, you know, I do wear my heart on my sleeve. I am sometimes a bit overgiving of my information, but I just don't want people to go through this life believing things I've believed about myself and literally thinking it's real. We're all going to have negative thoughts. We're all going to have ideas about who we are that isn't quite true. So when we can relate to people who go, oh my God, I get that. Yeah. That's why it helped me having that support while I was going through the diagnosis. I was talking to somebody who had been there, who'd got her own experience, who'd worked with lots of other people and their different experiences, so that it didn't feel so isolating, so that my mind wasn't, my ego, one of a better one, was not trying to lead the show all the time, because that's what ego does. It's designed to keep us safe. There's no point having a horrid relationship with it, but it can convince us of all kinds of crap, one of a better phrase, to keep us in this box that we just don't belong in, because, you know, it looks scary to not be in there.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? We kind of live in our own amazing ways as Indias. It's not a bad thing. I think it's really cool. Me and college, I always, you know, have so much fun with it. We're just like this cool little couple that has just this different way of living, and we love it. You know, we've come to love it. Now
Yeah,
we're both diagnosed with
yeah,
it. It's like this is a really exciting time. This is like, oh, we can just like let ourselves go a bit more, which is really, really good. And then support her child, my stepson, who it's clearly
yeah.
obvious what's going on for him, but we're just going through the system. We will cover school stuff, guys, and another time. A few people I've talked to already on this show, we've all agree that that topic needs a good old deep dive. I probably might just get like three of you on, and the four of us would just go at it. Uh, God, that'd be
Mm.
wild for four ADHDers on a
Mm.
call. Got to do it. But yeah, just to wrap up the show with some lovely, gorgeous hope. So right now in this timeline for you in your life, what is your relationship with your neurodivergent brain now? What you don't need to tell us everything you've learned up to this point, but like on a daily basis, how do you interact with your brain? How do you treat your brain, your body? How is that looking? Let us see that, you know, life can be lush now.
Okay, so again, I'm a human, so I don't have all good days now. I know, and I certainly don't have all good days because I've got so much more awareness of what's going on. But that ultimately is the key: is the awareness of what's going on in your brain. I'm going to have to mention this if you don't mind. There are lots of books, but this has been one book that's been really helpful to me. So it's called Anxiety RX. It might be backwards, I don't know, and it's by Russell Kennedy. Although it's specifically stating anxiety, it was a really helpful book. He doesn't talk about it specifically to neurodivergent people. He states highly sensitive, but it's about his own story and the fact that he became a doctor and then came away from the medical profession. And it tells you all about his story of growing up with a dad who had schizophrenia and ended up committing suicide. I know that's quite deep, but the way that the book's written, or I've been reading it now for 2 years. I've still not finished it because I pick it up and read whatever I need to read when I need to read it, and it's always on the right spot. And that in itself, and with my coaching and all the other things that I do, that has really helped me more than anything to remember how much I'm in my head more than I am in my body. And that has been the most profound experience, is that I spend an extortionate amount of time in my head. And I can, you know, I could be convinced within minutes that I'm going to, you know, this house is going to blow up. You know, it don't take much to put me into a state of survival mode. And that's been the biggest, most helpful thing with this book, and is becoming more aware, connecting in with my breath. I've got to come back into my body, and doing the job that I do, that is what I have to bring in. It's somatic, because everybody's coming in their head, understandably, and then the treatment itself is about you moving into your body. What does it feel like here? What does that feel like? And it's taught me how to be in my mind, but be a sideliner, so to speak. I'm bystanding what's going on, and I can hear it all now, and I have to remind myself that's just part of who I am, and I love that about myself. But it doesn't need to keep running the show. I am my own parent, not my ego, and I've got to look after my inner child just as much as I look after everybody else. I'm a natural born carer. I am here to care for people. But if I don't care for myself, I cannot do it. My life showed me that when I had that breakdown.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's kind of like for me, I feel it. It's like my brain is like, right, I'm off now. See ya. And then my body's like, what, way up, hold up, wait for me. And it's trying to like follow behind. My brain's like one step ahead of my body, and then it's only till it's too late that my body starts twitching, and I'm just it's just unpleasant to be in my body. It's like it's not even had a chance to
Yeah.
integrate the information I'm even absorbing through my brain. I'm really glad you said that. I did a video on TikTok and Instagram about this. It's just yeah, it just feels like I can't do anything without thinking about what I've done with it or should have done or didn't do, and then going out and just can't stop observing my environment, thinking about that environment. It's bloody exhausting. But the key, like you said, the key is my body. And I've started to really
Mm,
practice coming into my body, doing whatever stimming I need to do is cool. And
yeah.
just noticing my feet on the floor and letting my legs rock as I'm having just before I have a nap, and just noticing that rhythmic movement. And I just nod straight off. And it's like, this is a really exciting time. I get to like interact with my body and use it to help calm my neurodivergent brain down. And together they could probably unify over time, I'm sure. And it'll all become a lot easier. And I'm not having to go, I need to look on my, focus on my body. It will just naturally flow. But I
Yeah.
do have to say, interacting with my body has been a game changer in the last 6 weeks, and
Mm.
it feels like maybe you're backing me up on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because when you when you're connecting in with your body, it knows the score. It really, really does, and it's helped me to slow my brain down. Like, it's helped me to accept my brain better. It's helped me um to be grounded. Like, I get caught up very, very easily because I'm quite frantic. I've always got a million jobs on at one go, and it's teaching me to slow things down, to minimize, to be more realistic about what capacity I have. I call it spoons. So every day I wake up with so many spoons. Some days those spoons are all gone. Say if I've got 7 spoons, some days those 7 spoons are done by 8 o'clock in the morning. Other days I've got reserves. And the more I'm aware of my energy, the more I can be more realistic about whatever it was I was planning to do and what I really need to do, instead of trying to. And there are days where, I can't even fathom how much I've managed to do, but I can't do that every day. I just can't. And the more I've accepted that, instead of this conveyor belt way of living, it's been surprising how much more I've done because I'm not stuck in my head. I'm just doing it. Not like a robot, but like I'm in my body. I'm recognizing what my body wants. And it's it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. We were born with that. That's how we cried. That's why when we needed feeding, when we needed changing, when we needed a hug, when we told people that's what we wanted. We may have not said it literally, but we had the capacity to inform the world around us of what we need. And then an intention, like, not, I'm not saying it's all about how we've been parented as such, but we have been conditioned out of being able to make people aware and of what we want, and knowing that our needs are valid, because it's, well, if you want this or you want that or you want to be this, you've got to be that, you've got to do this. And yeah, we've got to do stuff, but ultimately we need to be able to, we so need to listen to ourselves. And the pace that we're living in right now, the more people, the thing is we've got more statistics that people are being diagnosed. This isn't a new thing. The amount of the statistics are just statistics. The amount of people who've had ADHD and autism has never been any different to some degree. It's just that we're more aware of what it is, and things need to change. The world has developed in a way that's completely unnatural to many people in the Western world. It's we're not connected to nature in the same way as we're designed to be. And the more we are disconnected from that, we are disconnected with ourselves. And when we're disconnected from ourselves, that's when we will be anxious. That's when we won't, when our body starts to shut down, because it's saying, you're not in me right now. You're there and you need to come back to me. That's where panic attacks happen.
Yeah, thanks so much. I'm glad you all mentioned the word pacing. We will do a whole episode on pacing as well at some point, guys, because that's part, even if you have chronic fatigue, which my partner's experiencing now and Emma knows very well, pacing is all a huge part of that. And it's no different for neurodivergent brains and just anybody pacing. Um, and I just feel like on a political level, it's like it's not the increase in how we live that's causing more neurodivergent brains, it's exposing it. So the more intense life becomes, the more it's exposing the presentations that we weren't seeing before because life wasn't so crazy. So don't think it's correlated. It's not like the life we're leading is causing people at 25 to suddenly get ADHD. No, they're seeing it now. It's
It's
too
always been
much. We
there.
expect to do way too much.
Yeah. And our culture focuses on in order to get a diagnosis, more often than not, you have to be showing what you're lacking first. The only way they'll take you seriously isn't by the attributes that make life good and that are good portrayals of having it. It's always focused on the things that you struggle with. When I'm particularly being a woman, I have cycles. So at different points in my cycle, my ADHD and my autism will show up differently to other times. If I'm going through a period of life where money is really, really, really tight, and my husband's then got really ill, and then my child has got this, I'm in complete survival mode. So my ADHD and autism needs are going to be really, really heightened because I've got to executively function in a survival state constantly. It's going to show up more. It doesn't mean that when I'm not in that state, I all of a sudden don't have ADHD and autism. It's still there. It's just that it's nurtured differently. I can look after it. I can then excel in my best parts because I've got the time and the energy to put into that. I've got the resources to do that. When I've not got the resources to do that and I'm in survival mode, they are going to show up more. They are going to, and everybody, well, predominantly most people in our culture now are in constant survival mode. And sorry, but the government know what they're doing. They know that's a surefire way to, one, keep people in line, more so kill them. It's the biggest cause of deaths is stress. And when you're more of a highly sensitive person, these things can only be manageable for so long because we are human. That's natural. It's not a failure. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah, that's another episode as well, isn't it? We've got so many episodes. We could
Yeah.
have a full-blown series.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's kind of like you said about stress. If our body is in any way outside of what they call ventral vagal, your vagus nerve, if you're in fight and flight or shut down, whatever it may be, your body just will not function at the ultimate level. I know that well. I nearly died from a gut condition because I spent so much time in sympathetic energy. So stress creates a state in your body, which then leads to those conditions. So even for neurodivergent brains, we have to be really careful about, I can't keep working really hard on things that I'm doing in that moment, get dizzy, get sympathetic charge, and then having to recover every day. It's just not going to benefit me. I need to find my window. Not window of tolerance. I'm not sure I like the word tolerance, but my window of opportunity where I can do really good, beautiful work. And when I need, and just before dizzy and sympathetic kicks in, I must go, yeah, 22 minutes is my sweet spot right now. So let's set my little clock, when you wind it up, like they're for kids really, but it shows you like the color of how long is left, like a rainbow. I have one of those. They're amazing. It buzzes, and then I have to stop. But I have to say, it's been absolutely amazing chat. I'm going to wrap it up before we get out of hand. We keep going. But we always finish, Emma, with you've done enough beautiful speeches about hope already, but I need you to do one more. So for anybody that's listening who is thinking about diagnosis, who is about to have one, is dealing with the grief and moving forward with their life right now, what would be your message of hope for us beautiful ADHDers and AuDHDers out there? What's cool about life as an India? What's
I
your
feel bad because I can't say I'm totally up on, because I don't know what communities are available to people in different areas. I only know what is available to me in my local area. And although I have communities online and stuff, it's really important that you seek out people who already have been diagnosed, because the more that you connect with people who have been through it, the more then it alleviates all the ego stuff. So it'll still be there, but at least you can go, okay, my brain is going to do that. My brain's going to think I'm going to be told I haven't got it. I'm making all this up. That's natural. That happens. I don't think there's many people who's had a diagnosis who hasn't thought they're going to tell me I'm just talking at my backside and I'm making it all up. I think the more we relate to the reality and that what people will experience, the better you're going to have the confidence to go through it and be more realistic about the experience as well. Because I think if we try to avoid feeling anything or avoid feeling a certain way because we don't like how it feels, it just limits us. So if you feel that you definitely do have a lot of symptoms of either or both conditions, just do a bit more research. There's plenty out there, and definitely connect with people who are willing to have a chat with you. Look, there's lots of other podcasts as well as Owen's. There's lots of different things. Just don't overload yourself, because that's a very common thing for us to do, and then get overwhelmed with it all and then just back off. But I think ultimately connection is key. And when we're able to talk to people who really do get it, it's like anything, if you're going through, when you had your illness, and if you're talking to somebody who's experienced something similar, it's relative. It helps you to not feel so isolated. So like anything, I think the most important thing is to find a way that's suitable for you, whether that's messaging or talking to people. Reach out, join groups and sit in the background and just watch the chats if need be. Everybody's got their own way. Honor that.
Yeah, it's such an important message because I was lucky that I had my partner who'd already been diagnosed a year before, so I was already going to be okay in that respect. But I think you're right, finding community, even if it's pre-diagnosis, currently about to have it, post, you're right. Finding your tribe. It could be a particular group on Facebook. It could even be like Instagram do these broadcasting channels now where you can be part of an ADHD coach's message feed where it's just you guys in there. That's really good. Like you said, listen to shows. So I listen to Distracted, if anyone knows that podcast with Kat and Jack. Absolutely amazing show. I listen to ADHD Chatter. Obviously, that's the most famous one right now. So I have quite a few that I listen to, and I find that really helpful. It feels like I'm in the room with them, hearing them chatting along, and it's really, really important. And even for me, I thought I'm just going to do 60-second videos on Instagram, TikTok. Hey guys, does this sound familiar? And everyone starts commenting, and it feels absolutely
Yeah.
gorgeous. Like, yeah, I have this. So I found that just literally I've gone extreme on this go on a video and tell people to tell me if it sounds right. So yeah, thank you. It's a really important message, and I think if you listen to this, then hopefully this even helps you. Oh, okay, those two got Owen and Emma kind of get it, so that gives me hope as well. So that's the whole point, really. But I just want to thank you so much. Like I said, I think all guests, I'd love them to come back. I'd love you to come back. I think there's so much more we could say. And I just want to thank you for. I know we haven't seen each other much recently, but I always, whenever I see your post, I always smile because you're such a lovely human being.
Oh, thank you. So are
Me and
you.
Carla Joe think you're amazing. So
Oh,
it's
vice
really nice to
versa.
see that. But if people, I know a lot of your work and you do reflexology and such like, and it's all quite local. But yeah, if you just want to sort of plug your business, why not? There's going to be lots of Welshies listening.
Yeah. I mean, my business generally does tend to be in person with the reflexology, but I have had clients who have contacted me outside of that because they have wanted to have some mentoring or coaching around the ADHD and autism and life experiences around that. And that isn't not a possibility. I just focus a lot more on the reflexology. Because I love being in the
Yeah,
tent
amazing
more
place.
than anything. I love being out in nature. So, but that doesn't, I can still do those calls from there. It's just, yeah, I've only got so many spoons, as we were saying before. And, I find it difficult to try and balance so many. So if people want to contact me about something like that, they can. However, here in South Wales, in the Caerphilly area, I also integrate that with my reflexology also. So.
No, I appreciate that. I appreciate your openness to want to help others. Um, through that ADHD journey. And I'm a qualified coach in well-being generally, so I'm like, am I going to use that at some point? I know I'm using it here right now in this moment, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So we'll see where
yeah,
that takes us. But
yeah,
yeah, thank you so much, Emma. It's so lovely to have you so early on in the awareness-based journey. I mean, this podcast has been going for years, and guys, go back. There's like 80 plus episodes on all things trauma healing, anxiety, stress reduction, loads of stuff. But now it's all about neurodivergent life. So it's so lush to reconnect with all my old friends to uncover all this. But yeah, thank you so much. I can't wait to have you back. Mhm.
my pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for everyone's support. It's really good to see that these me, myself, and ADHD episodes are doing really well on downloads. So I did wonder if my audience had gone or if I was going to get a new one. It's definitely working. So thank you so much, guys. I've got loads of amazing therapists and coaches coming on soon. So you'll be able to get some really deep down advice coming up soon, which is going to be amazing. And thank you to all those people that are taking a punt on me. Got a way bigger following. But I thought, no, screw it. I don't care about my RSD. I don't care about. I tell them I'm going to risk rejection. Hi, how are you? Do you want to come on
Yeah,
my show?
yeah,
They're like, yeah, of course. You sound great. So please, guys, never feel like you're alone. So yeah, reach out to me if you want to. I don't mind. Obviously, like Emma, I don't want to burn myself out, so I might not respond that day. But yeah, please do send me a little DM. And if you want to voice message me, I'll be grateful. I much prefer
yeah.
listening than
I
reading.
prefer it as well. Yeah,
So voice message me if you want. I love to hear people's voices. Anyway,
yeah.
I'm rambling on now, so I'm going to wrap the show. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in episode 4, which I'm actually recording tomorrow. So let's do this. I'll see you then.